The year 2025. I mean, that really was the moment, wasn't it? It's when artificial intelligence stopped being this sophisticated tool in a lab and became the primary weapon for major threat actors around the world.
It was a fundamental shift. And it wasn't gradual.
Yeah.
The sources we've aggregated for this deep dive all point to the same conclusion.
Which is?
That the entire cyber threat landscape was altered. The speed, the scale, the sheer sophistication of attacks just exploded. It gave the offense what analysts are calling an asymmetric advantage.
Offense moves exponentially faster than defense.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to unpack exactly how that happened. We're going to get into the specific AI capabilities that really drove this, and then drill down into three, frankly, shocking real-world operations.
Right. We're talking massive deepfake financial fraud, a piece of malware that was actually autonomous and self-learning.
And a global disinformation campaign. It's all about what this means for, critical infrastructure, for security, and maybe even for democracy itself.
It's a big topic. Okay, so let's start there. Let's unpack this. What was the qualitative difference between old school automation, like a big botnet just following orders, and the kind of AI weapon we saw in 2025?
Well, the key shift is what the analysis calls the industrialization of AI-powered cyber operations.
Industrialization.
It's a good word for it. It basically means that capabilities that were previously just for nation states or these elite teams, they're now accessible to much broader groups. The barrier in entry just collapsed.
And this industrialization rests on what? A few key technologies.
3 core technologies, really, and they all reinforce each other.
Okay, give us the big 3.
So first, you have large language models, LLMs. These completely change the early stages of an attack. They're used to generate highly personalized, contextually perfect social engineering.
So no more badly spelled phishing emails.
Not at all. Think about a spear phishing message that used to take a human days of research to write. An LLM can now do it in seconds. And they also accelerate the technical side. They can write exploit code with just minimal prompting. So the AI finds a vulnerability and then writes its own key to open the door.
In a way, yes. And often faster than a human defender can even deploy a patch.
Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2 is generative adversarial networks, GANs, and deepfakes. This is the tech that crossed what they call the believability threshold in 2025.
Meaning you just can't tell the difference anymore?
Not without specialized forensic analysis, no. The little giveaways, the artifacts, they're gone.
Yeah.
The synthetic audio, video, it's all indistinguishable from the real thing now.
And the third piece, the one that really gets to this idea of autonomy.
That's reinforcement learning, or RL, and autonomous agents. And from a cyber defense perspective, this is the scariest one. It allows these systems to explore networks, find vulnerabilities, and make real-time decisions on how to spread and evade detection.
Without a human operator.
Without continuous human direction, correct.
So here's where it gets really interesting for me. The sources say AI doesn't just improve one part of an attack, it changes the whole thing, the entire cyber attack lifecycle.
It does. And if you look at the timeframes, it's just breathtaking. Take the reconnaissance phase.
Okay.
Human analysts used to spend weeks, maybe months, building a detailed target dossier. Now, an AI-augmented system can process all that public data, social media, everything in a few hours.
Hours. And it's not just faster, it's smarter targeting, right?
Exactly. It's not just gathering data. It uses predictive models to find the highest value targets, to find the weakest link based on vulnerability likelihood. The machine is instantly finding the most effective point of entry.
And then exploitation.
That used to take real manual effort, chaining exploits together. Now these autonomous agents can scan, identify, and chain multiple exploits intelligently, adapting in real time to whatever defenses they see. The human is almost out of the tactical loop entirely.
The machine learns and exploits faster than we can even monitor the logs.
That's the problem.
And this leads us directly to our first big case study, which demonstrates just how devastating this can be in the real world.
We're talking about Operation Synthetic Voice. It's attributed with high confidence to a North Korean state-sponsored actor, probably the Lazarus Group or a successor.
And the goal was simple theft.
Yes, high-value financial theft. They were targeting Fortune 500s, big crypto exchanges, financial institutions. The numbers are staggering. The sources confirm $340 million was successfully stolen.
And that's just what was successful.
The attempted fraud was estimated at over $1.2 billion.
So how did they do it? I mean, these organizations have layers of controls, human verification.
They bypassed the human verification. It was a multi-stage attack. It started with very detailed target selection. The AI analyzed financial filings, earnings reports, but also did intensive executive profiling.
Scraping social media, interviews, that sort of thing.
All of it, to gather voice samples, speech patterns, even personality traits. And what's alarming is the analysis suggests they only needed about 10 to 15 minutes of clean audio of a CEO to create a perfect voice clone.
And that gets them past the initial phone call.
It gets them much further. The ultimate step was the real-time deepfake execution. Using a compromised email, they'd schedule an urgent video conference call.
A live video
A
call.
live video call. And during that call, they deployed a state-of-the-art deepfake, high-fidelity voice, and video synthesis.
But wait, how do they handle a live conversation? If you ask an unexpected question, surely the machine would glitch.
That's the technical breakthrough. The system had what the report calls conversational adaptation. It wasn't a recording. An LLM-powered dialogue system was responding in real time, in the cloned voice and face, displaying urgency, confidence. It could even handle unexpected questions about a merger or a compliance issue.
So the finance manager on the other end of that call is seeing their CEO's face, hearing their voice.
And is being completely fooled. It leveraged that executive authority to get them to authorize immediate, massive wire transfers.
It's not bypassing a firewall, it's bypassing trust itself.
That's the core of it. You can no longer necessarily trust what you see and hear, even from your own leadership.
Okay, so moving from deception to autonomy, let's talk about Sapphire AI. This is the one the source describes as a watershed moment in malware.
Right. And this wasn't about theft. This was about creating infrastructure chaos. Sapphire AI was the first widely seen cyberworm to incorporate a truly autonomous, self-learning capability.
Using that reinforcement learning you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. The attribution is a bit contentious, but it's leaning toward a Russian-speaking cybercriminal syndicate.
So for our listeners, what does reinforcement learning mean here? How does a worm learn?
Think of it like this. The worm's agent has a goal. Propagate. Every time an infection attempt succeeds, it gets a reward. When it fails, it gets a punishment. So it's constantly running these little experiments and refining its strategy based on what works.
It's teaching itself how to be a better virus.
A much better virus.
Yeah.
If an exploit fails against a certain type of firewall, the agent learns that and decreases the probability of trying that strategy again. It's constantly optimizing.
And this learning curve, was it fast?
Terrifyingly fast. The sources say it showed a 151% improvement in its success rate in just 4 weeks.
Wow.
It was evolving faster than any human-driven defense could possibly keep up.
So what was the impact when this thing was fully unleashed?
It spread exponentially, reached over 100 countries in 72 hours. And the total economic damage attributed to it exceeded $8.9 billion.
So how do you even begin to fight something like that? Traditional signature-based defenses must be completely useless.
Completely inadequate. It forced a fundamental pivot in defensive strategy. You had to deploy defensive AI systems to deliberately feed false feedback to the worm.
You had to poison its learning process.
You had to poison it. You can't just block it. You have to trick it. Make it learn the wrong lessons, send it chasing phantom vulnerabilities, and it's an adversarial game of AI versus AI.
Which brings us to our third case study, which moves from malware into information warfare, Project Echo Chamber.
This was a massive, globally coordinated disinformation campaign. The analysis attributes it to a multi-actor effort with components from Russian GRU, Iranian, and Chinese state groups.
Targeting elections.
It targeted 37 countries, 23 national elections, and major referenda all over the world.
The sheer volume of content they produced is what I find staggering. How is this information factory actually built?
It relied on a few key components. First, an AI-powered content generation engine. It produced millions of social media posts, articles in 43 different languages. And the content was tailored specifically for emotional engagement.
To maximize anger and fear.
Exactly. Not factual accuracy. And by mid-2025, the output was so good that even trained human evaluators couldn't reliably spot the fakes.
But content is useless without a way to spread it.
Which brings us to component 2, synthetic persona management. The system maintained over 847,000 synthetic social media accounts.
847,000.
And these weren't simple bots. They had realistic profiles, gene-generated photos, LLM-generated backstories. They mimicked human behavior over long periods to avoid being detected.
So that intense political argument you had online in 2025?
There's a high probability the person you were arguing with wasn't a person at all. It was a sophisticated AI entity capable of debating you in real time.
And then they added deepfakes on top of that.
Component 3. A deepfake production factory that pumped out over 340,000 videos, fabricated confessions from politicians, entire fake news broadcasts with synthetic anchors.
And all these different state actors were pushing coordinated narratives.
Coordinated but regionally specific. The Russian parts focused on undermining democratic institutions, the Chinese components on shaping opinion about Taiwan, the Iranian parts on Middle Eastern narratives and targeting dissidents. It was a coordinated global assault on the information environment.
The impact assessment in the source material is pretty grim. Did it work?
It showed a measurable influence on electoral outcomes in several countries. And more broadly, voter confidence in electoral integrity just plummeted across the board. The conclusion is that it's challenging the very idea of a shared factual foundation that democracy needs to function.
So if we connect all three of these case studies, what are the bigger strategic realities that emerge?
I think there are three that really stand out. The first one is a truly existential security challenge.
Which is?
The supply chain crisis. This was highlighted by a separate Chinese operation called Trojan Compiler. They used AI to inject malicious backdoors into the tools used to build software.
Okay, explain that. Why is compromising a compiler so bad?
Well, a compiler is the master tool that turns human-readable code into the machine code that a computer actually runs. If the compiler itself is compromised, then every piece of software built with it can have an invisible, undetectable backdoor baked right in.
Operating systems, firewalls, everything.
Everything. It creates what they call the compiler trust problem.
Yeah.
If you can't trust your tools, you can't trust anything you build with them.
And the second reality is a tragic one. The shift from financial cost to, well, human life.
It is the stark human cost. The source details a massive AI-orchestrated ransomware epidemic that specifically targeted healthcare infrastructure. The AI was sophisticated enough to maximize operational disruption.
And what was the result?
Catastrophic disruption to patient care. The report documents 23 deaths that were directly attributed to attack-related delays, delayed surgeries, medication errors.
That changes the entire conversation. This isn't just about money anymore.
Exactly. It raises profound questions about treating these kinds of cyber operations as potential violations of international humanitarian law. When a cyber attack leads to death, the rulebook has to change.
And the third reality is just defensive inadequacy. Our old ways of doing things just don't work anymore.
The defense gap is significant, and it's growing. The only response is a fundamental shift toward resilience and AI-powered defense. You have to assume you've already been compromised.
So what are the immediate, actionable things organizations and governments are doing?
Technically, deploying AI-powered defensive tools is now urgent. But the critical piece is adversarial defense training.
Teaching your AI to fight their AI.
You have to fight fire with fire, and you have to implement zero-trust architecture. No user or system is automatically trusted, even if it's inside your network. And for the supply chain, governments are pushing for mandatory software bills of materials, so every component is documented and auditable.
And on the societal front,
We have to develop international norms to constrain the most dangerous uses of this tech. And crucially, we need to accelerate public literacy so people can understand and withstand this kind of AI-generated manipulation.
this deep dive really reveals that AI in cyber warfare isn't theoretical anymore. It's operational, it's industrialized, and it's capable of creating real humanitarian and existential risks.
We are officially in an accelerating arms race, and the question we're all grappling with is whether defensive evolution can possibly keep pace, or if the advantage for the offense will just continue to grow.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now?
Well, the report suggests this is an inflection point that's comparable to the introduction of nuclear or biological weapons, just in terms of the global risk complexity.
So if this arms race continues unchecked, the human response through innovation, policy, and international cooperation is what will determine if AI becomes a manageable risk or unmanageable harm.
That's the challenge. And maybe the most urgent task, especially in light of those 23 deaths, is to seriously explore the long-term ethical and legal questions, particularly the idea of extending international humanitarian law to cover these life-costing cyber operations. That's a conversation we all need to be ready for.